What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another daily drop presented by TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner. Joining me, as he always does, you guys know who he is, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, we're here to talk about, I guess we're here to put a question out to the people, a question that we haven't even talked about amongst each other. I don't know what your answer is going to be. You don't know what my answer is going to be. So we're going to dive right into this one, as we like to do on these daily drops to keep them moving. And the question today is, for those who obviously know if they clicked on this video, should UNC basketball, and talking about the men's program obviously here, play a game in Carmichael every season? I've got my take on it, but for the sake of discussion, I'll kick it to you first, AJ. Do you think Carolina should be playing a game or two in Carmichael every year? Or do you think that's kind of just a waste of time? Let me know.
Maybe this is an unpopular take, but no.
Okay.
No. I don't think they should. And I could give you a laundry list of reasons why, but I'll begin with the fact that that's not their home arena. Their home arena is the Dean Dome. They should play as many games in the Dean Dome as they can, especially the way the schedule is now when they have so many neutral site games built in. You know, they've got 3 in the Bahamas this year as an example. They've got 1 in Charlotte. They've got the CBS Sports Classic, which is another neutral site game. And a lot of years they're going to have a road game in the ACC SEC Challenge. And they try to play a road game anyway. Right there, that's 6 games away from home outside the conference schedule. And they're only going to get like 11 games. So that gives them 5 games in the Smith Center plus an exhibition game. So, and they're always only going to play 1 exhibition because they play the secret scrimmage as well. So, no, I don't think that they should play the games in the Dean Dome. That's their arena. That's their court. It's been that way for almost 40 years now. I get some of the argument about history and everything else, but to me, Carmichael is not a great arena. It wasn't a great arena when they played there. The men's basketball team didn't play there for very long for a reason. They built a new arena quickly for a reason. And it just isn't where they need to spend. They're not going to make that much money there unless they charge people $500 a ticket. So you get 20,000, even for an early conference. The games that we would be talking about are, let's say, Gardner,
like a Wofford again,
like
which
that.
they did.
Gardner, Wofford, and they lost that game, by the way.
Yeah, that was but we were there for that.
Gardner, you were there too, right?
Yep.
You cover that? KJ Smith started the point that game.
I think I shot video that game up in the Crow's Nest, which was pretty cool vantage point, a little different.
Yeah, well, that's a different topic from a media perspective. I don't want to climb up those steps and do that.
No, it was a little more crammed from a media perspective. It definitely was.
Yeah, you kind of feel like you're, touring submarines, World War II submarines when you're climbing
walking
up
on those.
things.
Yeah, you're right.
But what is it, 6,500 now in Carmichael?
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Maybe.
No,
it was 10 when they played there. So even if they have Gardner Webb, they're going to get 15, 16 in the Dean Dome. It just doesn't make sense from a financial standpoint, especially when money is what it is now. Some people might think it's cool and nostalgic, but sometimes cool and nostalgic are not great ideas. Sometimes they're just better left being a cool, nostalgic idea, and that's that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you make a lot of good points. I'm going to play devil's advocate in this one, but by you giving me some of those points, I'm actually leaning more towards you now because I think everything you said is valid and it makes a lot of sense, especially.
That's why you should have gone first.
Yeah. You talk about the neutral games too, and I hadn't really thought about that. Carolina does play a lot of neutral site games. I think that would play a factor, but AJ, I'll play devil's advocate here. And here's an idea I have that I think would be kind of cool. And I don't know how well it will work logistically. I don't work in that world, so it might be impossible, but this is an idea I could throw out there. I think it'd be cool every year if the men's one game, the men's and the women's team flipped. So I think it'd be cool if for one game, the women's team played in the Smith Center, switch it up a little bit. I think the women's team has I know it didn't have the following the men's team has, but it's a program on the rise. It's a program a lot of people are excited about. It seems like fandom around it is growing a little bit. How about switch? How about have a game, maybe like I said, early in the year, maybe November, December, when Carolina goes into Carmichael, plays a little bit of a throwback game, maybe wear some throwback unis to honor some of those older teams. I think that would be really cool against some of these lesser teams like a Wofford, just to switch it up a little bit. And maybe the women's team goes in the Smith Center for maybe a bigger game throughout the year, maybe one of their ACC games against a bigger opponent, maybe plays a Duke in there or something like that, just to switch it up a little bit. Carmichael's a super historic arena. There's a lot of history there. I know they've done a lot of remodeling in there. I know it's not the greatest arena in the world, especially in today's world when you look at how big and spacious and just accommodating some of these NBA and top level college basketball arenas are. But I think doing that, just it provides a little bit of something different. Maybe it's not something you do every year. I know the discussion here is if they should do it every year. Maybe it's not something you do maybe every other year. But I do think that's a cool idea that could just bring a little bit of something different. I think probably more appealing for the women's team to play in the Smith Center than the men's team to play in Carmichael, obviously because of sheer size and, like I mentioned, logistics that I won't go into. But I think that's an idea that could be thrown in that would be pretty cool. So my answer is yes. I think Carolina should explore an option of playing in there every year. Just one game, lesser non-conference opponent. Carolina basketball is not short on money, man. They can sacrifice one game, a less ticket sales in the Smith Center. I mean, I know it's not something I know COVID had an impact on everybody, but I refuse to believe Carolina basketball is, struggling to make the payments every month, especially with just the sheer amount of following they have. So that's my opinion. Let's play one game in there a year. Carolina, switch it up a little bit, make it a little bit historic, and let's let the women's team play in the Smith Center for one game too. Just to, and you can brand it how you want to. If you want to brand it differently for Carolina and kind of try to push ticket sales, especially for that women's game, I think it would be something that fans would enjoy, and I think it's something both programs would probably enjoy a little bit too.
Well, I think the revenue difference wouldn't be so much for Carolina basketball. It'd be to help the other programs. Yeah. They have 28 varsity programs.
It's true. Carolina's one of the biggest, when it comes to sheer amount of programs.
The most in the ACC. So when you looked at the quote-unquote Magnificent Seven that came out of Amelia Island, which wasn't really the Magnificent Seven, Carolina has 28 varsity sports. I think UVA has 22, Virginia Tech 21. Everybody else was in the teens. So they have a lot of sports they have to fund. So I think the added revenue that you would get and the difference between Carmichael and the Dean Dome right there justifies the game being the Dean Dome for a lot of other reasons as well. But also the history factor, they only played in there like 18 years.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So 19 years, whatever it was. So imagine Tyler Hansborough's freshman year, Carolina opens a building. And they moved after this season, they moved into something else. They're moving into something else. Okay. Obviously, there's a lot of great teams in that time period, something that would be honored and all that kind of stuff. But it's not like we're talking about the Wrigley Field of college basketball here. Mm-hmm. It's not like we're talking about the old Yankee Stadium or anything like that, or Soldier Field or whatever the case may be. So I don't think it has that. I don't think it carries that kind of nostalgia. Yes, Jordan played there. Yes, Worthy played there. Yes, Phil Ford played there. So many. The Dean's program exploded there. But when they moved into that arena, it was still kind of wobbly a little bit. And all of a sudden, 3 straight Final Fours, and the rest is history. I get that. But it wasn't a significant period of time. They've been in the Dean Dome twice as long. So I think with your idea about the women, I got one for you. How about have the women play a game before the men at the Dean Dome?
Yeah, that's
like
a good
conference
idea.
Game. Mm-hmm. Or early in the year to get a little bit more people. So
I'm almost surprised they don't every once in a while.
Well, let's maybe do an annual thing where they both schedule the same non-conference program. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to Gardner-Webb for the sake of discussion. Let's say the women play Gardner-Webb at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and the men play Gardner-Webb at 7:30 or whatever the case may be. And the women get a percentage of the gate.
I like that.
And maybe it brings more people in, and you just celebrate UNC basketball in general right there. I think something like that would be pretty cool. Get the ACC network involved, and they have a studio set up before and then in between games and that kind of thing. So I think if you want to uplift the women's program, do so in a scenario like that where a lot more eyes would be on them simply because people would show up earlier. The men's teams would be able to they always have a half hour between games in neutral site when they're the second game. So them getting prepared for a game like that wouldn't be any different than when they're the second game at the CBS Sports Classic or at the ACC or NCAA tournament. So I think that would be pretty cool. And that would generate a lot of publicity for the women's team.
I actually think I like that idea more than anything we've talked about. I think we should scrap the Carmichael idea and do that. I think that makes a lot. That makes a lot more sense. As you can tell, it's an organic podcast.
Yeah, and if you did Carmichael, I think maybe an exhibition game. But even still, I'll tell you what. If I'm a kid that plays for Elizabeth City State and I'm playing an exhibition game against North Carolina, I don't want to play in Carmichael. I want to walk in there and look at all those banners in the Dean Dome and play there. If I'm a Division I team on a Division I team and I'm going to play a regular season game and I hear, wow, we're playing North Carolina, you don't want to take the court at Carmichael.
Yeah,
you want to have that moment to play at the Dean Dome.
Mm-hmm.
So not that their decision making would have anything to do with any of that. I just think about that element of the experience as well. I don't think there's ever a reason to not play a home game in the Dean Dome unless they build a new arena, which they ain't doing anytime soon.
No, and
right?
that's
they
a good
need
point.
To spend money. They need to spend some money on the Dean Dome, by the way, which is another daily drop.
That's what I was going to say. But, yeah. It's hard to,
just stay there.
Really, ideally, Carolina really needs to redevelop. Smith Center is a historic green. It's awesome. It's great. But in terms of, just go to the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, the sheer space, the sheer size, the accommodations of private suites. Dean Smith Center doesn't have that. It's tight. It's cramped. There's no really private suites around there. It really should be something that's redeveloped. So when you think about it from that perspective, it's hard to sit here and pitch that Carmichael should be a game there. Carmichael,
Yeah, we'll talk about that some other time, but I kind of like the way the Smith Center is in that sense. But we'll have that discussion.
It is cool. Yeah, it's historic, and it does feel like there's a lot of people on top of you because it is so tight and you can cram so many people into a 20,000 seater arena.
So I wooed you onto this side.
I think you have. I think you actually have.
I want to know who else I've wooed on. So let us know. If you think, they got to play in Carmichael, it's too important for whatever reasons you have, let us know that as well. But if I pulled you over to my side of the aisle here, let us know that too.
You genuinely pulled me over because I did go into this podcast saying, no, I think they should play in Carmichael. When you bring up the reasons you bring up, I think playing a game like they said in the Smith Center would be pretty cool, having the women first and having the men after. Like you said, maybe it's even an ACC game or the early ACC games where you can schedule that back to back, bring the ACC network in, which would be even cooler and give them a little bit more incentive to come in. Maybe a Clemson or something like that. I think that could be pretty cool to drive and have make a cool day, a Saturday out of it. Like a 4:00 game for the women's, maybe a 8:00, 7:30 game for the men's. That'd be a fantastic idea. And if that does end up happening, AJ, I need to know who to send the invoice to for the idea because we need a little bit of money back on that one, man. If that does end up happening one day, I'm not going to let that go under the radar. I mean, come on, guys. I think we've had some ideas on these daily drops recently. I thought we did one a couple weeks ago about, I can't remember what it was now. We kind of debated something like this as well. So
we need to get Click Waltney to listen to this.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. It was the Keenan pod we did where we had to improve Keenan's game day experience. If I start noticing a couple of those changes coming in too, might start demanding a little moolah in the podcast.
Yeah. If suddenly the band has 400 people and a bunch of tubas, and more drums, and they're sitting over there in the corner on the other side of the tunnel where they come out over by the visitor side of the field, then we're going to know someone was checking us out.
Yeah, might have to shoot Bubba an email about if that happens and just see if we can talk a little money for the idea, man. Hey, come on.
I'm sure Bubba's cruising around listening to our daily drops instead of whatever musical choice he prefers.
Right? Not a chance that's happening, man. We'll go ahead and get out of here though, AJ. Trying to keep these a little bit shorter as we do like to go long-winded on these from time to time. So mix in some longer form daily drops and some shorter daily drops as well. I think get a healthy dose of both is good for everybody. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Appreciate y'all watching. As always, make sure you keep it locked to TarHillIllustrated.com. And again, get involved. Like AJ said, hit us up on Twitter at Hill Illustrated. Hit me up at Jacob Turner THI. You can also hit us up on Facebook at Tar Heel Illustrated and our website, $8.33 a month. You can become a premium subscriber. We do post every single content item in our premium message boards as an individual thread. So you can go in there and get involved in the chat as well and let us know what you think about playing in Carmichael. Should the men's team do it? We want to hear from you. Let us know. All links are in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.
Thanks.